Good afternoon, Facebookers, LinkedIners, podcast listeners, YouTube watchers, Twitterers, LinkedIners, and everything in between us. So Adam Brooks, Sales Academy, coming on to talk to you about another subject, a subject of use, I think, but a word that doesn't really come into most people's vocabularies, and that's not a patronizing assumption. I've had many conversations with people over the years. It might be that the word itself is made up. Who knows? But what I want to talk to you today about is perturbation. Perturbation, when we are feeling perturbed. So when we're feeling a little bit discombobulated, when we're feeling pushed up against it, when the pressure's on, we feel perturbed. So perturbation is the process of working through those feelings of being perturbed, but actually doing something about it. And this really came up. It's come up a few times this year, right? We've been in challenging times, but I mean, when I say it's come up a few times this year, I mean really in-depth conversations with individuals, sometimes tears, tantrums, so because these are tough conversations to have at times. And when I explain the scenario, I think you'd understand why, right? But what I'm interested in, as you're listening to this right at the start, I'm going to give a shout out and say, if you've felt like this or you are feeling like this, then get in touch. What I mean by get in touch is drop a comment in the post that you see this appearing in. So whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, drop a comment in, DM us, contact us, whatever you want to do, and just have a conversation. Because if we can help people get past this kind of stuff and learn how to get past this stuff, it's life skills, right? It's priceless. So let's just explain about what perturbation is. And something that came up this week already was around this that's prompted me to kind of get on and do this podcast and this musing. And that is that people break through, in my experience, in years of coaching and over 20 years of doing this, right? People break through. But for them to break through, that breakthrough is one of the three breaks in that kind of, it's almost like a fork in the road, a pronged fork in the road. Because under pressure, people get to that point where they either kind of break down, which is a very common one. They just have some sort of physical, mental, emotional breakdown, which can lead to tears, tantrums, kind of aggression, all sorts of stuff. Or actually, sometimes it can just result in completely retreating inwards for an indefinite period of time, right? So, but this breakdown is one of the kind of multiple forks. And another one is to break away, where people just go, I can't do this anymore, and I'm just going to find a way to slide away from this, but not actually deal with it, not actually challenge ourselves or tackle ourselves or develop ourselves. So we're only ever running away from it, and it's going to get bigger and bolder as it chases us. So it's going to catch up with us, right? So break away isn't necessarily one of the options, but it's escape right here and now. It's about getting breathing space back. So if we're not going to break down, we sometimes break away. But the one that we want to talk about today is break through. So if you consider yourself a mass as a human being, right? And your whole mass of physical, physiological, biological, psychological, all of your being is feeling the pressure and being pushed up against something. So let's you're kind of talking about the rock and hard place scenario here, right? So those pressures, so you could be feeling pressures from financial, relationships, team members, the VAT man, all sorts of different things you could be feeling these pressures from, but you're feeling backed into a corner in some way, shape or form. And I'm trying to give you a description so you understand what this feels like. So you've got this really hard surface that you kind of can't go anywhere. You're backed in, you're up against it, right? And all of these pressures are on you, and they're pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. And it's at that point that people break down, they break away, or they break through, all right? And breaking through takes courage, it takes guts. Breakdowns take courage and guts. Breakaways, in some senses, I guess they take courage and guts, but you're running away from it. So the kind of jury's out for me that there's some courage there. Maybe it's courage in that moment to make a decision, but medium term, long term, even short term, it's not going to serve you, right? So let's leave the breakaway. Let's talk about the breakdown and the breakthrough. So we've all been there. I'm pretty sure that we've come up against times where we didn't think we could get through. We didn't think we could achieve what it is we need to achieve. We are feeling the pressure from all different angles. We're feeling under it, whether that, like I said, that could be employment, it could be work, it could be business, it could be colleagues, it could be relationships, friendships, family, but you're feeling that pressure and you just feel you can't get away from it. And so we have a tipping point, and it's various, it's different for different people, but we have a coping mechanism kind of tipping point where emotionally we can't deal with any more. We kind of reach a capacity where we just cannot take any more. And I always call it a pop. I feel like a pop in my head, and it's like, it's a release. And I'm like, I'm done. I am done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm not going to allow anyone to make me feel this way anymore. I am going to stand my ground, and I'm going to stand my boundaries firm, and I'm going to push back. And as a giving person, that doesn't feel natural. As a giving person, as somebody who puts his time, life, everything and effort into helping people to become better, to think and act differently, to improve their lives and businesses, to push back can be tough, but it's absolutely bloody vital, right? So breakdowns can be a very natural part of it. And sometimes we have to go through the breakdowns to really know what it feels like. And again, as a coach, sometimes I'm going, you can see what's coming, but yeah, maybe a counselor, maybe a consultant, maybe a mentor will guide people through that stuff. And part of my remit as a coach sometimes is people need to feel the pain of some of these decisions that they're making so that they can actually learn the lesson, the big lesson that they need to learn. Because it's like when people say sorry for stuff, right? I'm not interested in sorries. I think sorries are pointless. I think we should delete the word sorry from the dictionary, because if you're going to do something that you're sorry for, don't do what it is you were going to do, and you won't need to be sorry for it. So I teach this to my kids and everything else. It's like, don't keep saying sorry. I'm not interested in sorry. I'm interested in a change in behavior. I'm interested in taking in the data, making a better informed decision, and not having the same thing again and again and again and again, because you're not sorry. You don't care. You're reckless. You're inconsiderate. You're ignorant. Those are the things that are coming out if you're continuing to do the same things and just accepting that saying sorry is good enough. Well, it's not. It's just not. It's certainly not in my sphere, right? So take your apologies and shove them up your ass. They're worthless. Behavior changes are important. They're priceless. So when we need to go through some of those breakdowns, when we need to go through some of those emotional puddles, those struggles, those treacle moments where we are literally in the trenches, ass wet in the puddle. I've been there with clients. I've been there in my own life and business, and I will go there again, I'm sure, because none of us are perfect, right? And we're always growing, we're always developing. And when we grow and develop, we come up against new challenges that we've never faced before. And exactly the same as the previous ones, we will think we can't get through this, but we did, and we have, and we can. You can. So when we're in that trench and our ass is wet, it's scary. Thinking about going over the top of the trenches is scary, because we're going into no man's land. We're going into unknown. We're going into fear-based arena. And at least we know where we are, even though we know we're in a very horrible position and our asses are wet and we're sat in a puddle, a stinky, dirty puddle that we don't want to be in. It can be a bit more comforting than going over the top into no man's land. But at some point, every single person I've ever worked with and ever met that's in this space, that feels in this space, understands and appreciates that at some point they're going to go over the top. You know, my position as a coach is a very privileged position. I get to go over the top with people. I get to encourage them to come over the top. I get to show them the other side of the mountain, not just the no man's land, right? It's an extremely privileged position and challenging, hugely rewarding. So this breakthrough, we talked about breakaway, we talked about breakdown. Let's talk about breakthrough. So if you consider your mass that we were talking about earlier on, when you push yourself up against that point where you're stuck and you're really feeling it, when you do choose to break through and actually go through it, you kind of metaphorically, you go through this sieve, this colander, and you come out the other side and you're exactly the same mass. You haven't lost anything. You are exactly the same mass, but you're shaped differently now. You're formed differently now. So if you consider one whole lump and then you come through the other side and you're lots of little lumps, it's still the same mass, but you've broken through to another comfort level, another comfort zone, a different, you have stretched your sphere, right? You've gone through a paradigm shift. You have shifted your knowledge, your experience, your confidence, your ability, your awareness. You've gone through all of that. That's what I'm talking about in terms of breakthroughs. And a lot of these breakthroughs happen at the point of breakdown. Some people break down, come back up, break through. Some people see the breakdown coming, feel the breakdown coming, and go, there's got to be a better way, and I can't keep running away from it. So what else is there? I'm going to break through. And sometimes that breakthrough feels more like a tunneling under, climbing over, smashing the shit through, but it is breaking through. And you have that in you. Every single one of you listening to this. And the reason I know that you know it is you've done it before. Even though the biggest challenge you've got right in front of you now feels like you can't make it, you know you can, because you've got it inside you. You've done it before, just with a different thing, a different experience, and you weren't as good as you are now back then. And what's coming next is taking you further and further and further in your development, your growth, your personal experiences. So perturbation is that, feeling perturbed and pushing through and finding a way to work through the issues, work through the challenges, figuring out what they are, becoming aware of them, making, I'm not a big fan of lists, right? But mind mapping this stuff out, figuring out what are the things that are holding you back. Why are they holding you back? Why are those behaviors? What are the behaviors that you're demonstrating when you're in that space? How is that making you feel? How is it making other people feel? Why are those behaviors important to you? Why is it that you are choosing those outcomes and choosing those decisions and behaviors to get that outcome? And what would happen if you chose something different? What could that different look like? So you start to work through a process, a coaching process, a questioning cycle around the thing that you're experiencing. And it starts to enable you, by asking those better questions, not just to ask more questions, because it will naturally create more. You start to make better decisions. You start to have better thought processes. And when you make better decisions, you get better results. So just want to talk to you today about perturbation. It's a biggie. And if you feel it, or you've ever felt it, and you want to come and share your thoughts with me, come and share your thoughts with me. I'd love to hear about it. Let's have a discussion. I'm going to share this across social. So Sales Academy followers and people getting involved, come and have a listen, come and have a learn. You know, I learn with every single engagement I've ever had, every single debate, discussion, the lot. So I'm open to this. So look forward to speaking to you. Adam Brooks, Sales Academy. Talk to you soon. Peace out, guys. Love you all.